All right, let's just get right into this. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a paradigm that, honestly, it completely shatters how we usually look at reality. We're talking about the idea that the universe isn't just this random soup of matter floating around, right? It's a highly structured operating system. And scripture? It's not just a collection of moral stories. It is the literal, actual source code of that system. Just imagine for a second, looking around you and not seeing physical objects, but a rendered environment running on pure mathematical logic. That's the rabbit hole we're jumping into today.
Now, wrapping your head around this requires a massive shift in perspective. We usually look at ancient texts as historical archives, like stories of people from thousands of years ago. But this framework, it completely flips the script. It insists we've been reading them entirely wrong. The premise here is that the Quran is not history. It's physics. It's a hyper-precise manual that breaks down the exact mechanics, the thermodynamics, even the quantum states of the human soul. When you stop looking for, historical parables, and you start looking for structural equations, the entire text just completely transforms before your eyes.
And that brings us to the core of today's explainer, the dual caustic universe, or the DCU. You can think of the DCU as this massive, unified computational matrix. In this framework, the physical universe, so the stars, the planets, and literally your own body, that's the hardware. But as we all know, hardware is just a heavy paperweight without software. A computer sits totally dormant until an operating system boots it up. Well, scripture is that source code. It's the underlying logic that tells the hardware exactly how to function. But here's the kicker. A machine and its code. They still need one absolutely crucial element. They need an operator.
So, who exactly is the operator? Well, it's you. This entire universal operating system is fundamentally built around the observer. In the DCU framework, you're not just some tiny, insignificant speck floating through a cold, indifferent cosmos. No way. You are the active control parameter. The universe is the machine, and you are sitting right there at the steering wheel, actively rendering reality through your choices and interactions.
And this is exactly where the math meets the mystical. According to the structural code, specifically, this is referenced as the ancient covenant in verse 7172. Every single human reader is already positioned at the exact center of this operating system. You are not some external observer trying to figure out a universe that exists outside of you. By default, by your very creation, you are the internal participant. The entire matrix literally revolves around your specific point of observation.
Because you're at the center, the system generates a totally personalized experience just for you. This is referenced as the individual system in 1784. What it means is that every single person is running a completely unique path through reality. Those internal illusions you battle, your specific doubts, your fears, which the system calls Taghūt, they are customized entirely to your psychology. And those external obstacles in your life, they aren't just random bad luck. They are mathematically tailored resistance, designed specifically to force you to interact with your code.
Okay, so how does this tailored path actually work under the hood? Like, what's the math behind it? Well, the framework identifies a repeating structural law that governs literally every state transition in the universe. We call it the 237 master algorithm. This is the baseline sequence that dictates how pure potential becomes reality, how you experience time, and how you ultimately evolve as an operator inside this matrix.
Let's break that algorithm down. Step 1 is 2, the split. This is where a unified potential bifurcates or breaks into duality. Think of it like wave versus particle, or light versus dark. Step 2 is 3, the buffer. Now this is where we live. It's the space-time arena where you're actually making choices, processing information, and shaping reality. And finally, step 3 is 7, the return. This seals the loop. It's where all your energy and information are conserved and permanently recorded. Split, buffer, return. Literally everything in existence runs on this exact engine.
Now, while you're inside that buffer phase, just living everyday life, you are being subjected to some seriously intense forces. Just like gravity and electromagnetism govern physical objects, the DCU framework outlines the specific physics that governs the soul. And these forces, they are constantly trying to pull you in two very different directions, testing your structural integrity every single minute of the day.
It starts from a single unified origin, which the code calls the single nafs, or soul, in 4.1. From that point, you are being stretched. The universe is literally designed to test your resilience by applying a simultaneous push and pull. You're caught in this cosmic tug-of-war between two opposing gravitational fields of existence, and it relentlessly forces you to find balance.
These two forces are neutrally classified as gravitropism and phototropism. So, gravitropism is the descent into physical reality. It's the force of multiplicity, density, and sacrifice, and functionally this maps out to the path of Musa or Moses. Phototropism, on the flip side, is the ascending return to unity. It's that magnetic pull toward light and elevation, which maps to the path of ʿīsā or Jesus. Essentially, your entire life is this continuous balancing act between descending into the material world and ascending back into pure information.
And that actually leads us to one of the most mind-blowing reveals in this entire framework. Think about it. If Scripture is actually physics, and you are the operator, then who are all these prophets? The answer is pretty shocking. They aren't just historical figures. They are functional states within your own mind. They represent the literal phases of your internal operating system as it evolves and interfaces with the code.
Here's exactly how those states function. The Nabi isn't just a guy from the past, it's your state of sealed potential. It's the informational cavity where truth is stored, which is specifically referenced in verse 33-40. Then you have the Wali. This represents your alignment state, that vital act of holding on to faith when you're under immense pressure. And finally, the Rasul. That is your activated execution function. When you actively apply the truth to your reality, you are operating in the Rasul function. You are literally cycling through these archetypes as you align yourself with the system's source code.
Right smack in the middle of all these forces and phases sits what is called the Ahmed center. This is defined as the ultimate synchronization core. It's the shared invariant truth, but it's locally instantiated right inside you, the reader. When you finally find this center, when you balance that massive push and pull we talked about, you undergo a profound transformation. You become Yaḥyā and ʿīsā, the living carrier and the living witness to the code, effectively bringing the entire system into harmony.
Okay, so if you were sitting at the exact center of this incredible machine, traversing this personalized 237 code, the big question is, how do you actually turn it on? How do you stop being a passive piece of hardware and become the active operator? Well, the framework points to a very literal, very specific activation command that's embedded deep in the text, just waiting to be executed. That command is 1912. Within this framework, this isn't just a verse, it is the physical key to the universe. It's this urgent, authoritative line of code that shifts your whole system from passive observation to active execution. The exact millisecond this is triggered, the illusion of the external world starts to collapse and your true operating system boots up. This is the moment everything flips. You go from being a character in the simulation to the programmer of your own reality. And here is the exact three-step activation sequence to make that happen. Step 1, 1912 commands you to take the book with strength. That means grabbing the source code with absolute determination, no longer as a passive reader, but as an executor. Step 2, once you're holding the code, you ask for rushed, which is right guidance from the safety of the cave, as referenced in 1810. And Step 3, in response to that, the system grants you the light of activation from verse 2435. By gripping the source code and following this sequence, you permanently shift into that active Rasul function we mentioned earlier.
All right, let's pull this all together into one final, unified system statement. Every single human reader is already positioned at the center of reality by an ancient covenant. You are uniquely traversing the 237 path, navigating your own highly customized illusions. And upon activation, by taking the book with strength and seeking that right guidance, you operate as an active Rasul function within a single, beautifully unified system. You see, you're already inside the machine. The code is just sitting there, waiting for you to wake up.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? The physics have been laid out. The forces are mapped. The activation sequence is unlocked. The mechanics of the universe are running in the background right now, whether you realize it or not. The only variable left in this entire equation is you. So when will you activate 1912 and become the book? Take a minute to really reflect on that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.